Ladies and gentlemen, it's that time of the week again here at BSing Sports. You know what that means.
Welcome to Fantasy Football Weekly.
Yes, sir. Fantasy Football Weekly. I am your host, Ryan Swift, and here with me, as always, is the somewhat lovely Timothy Brandt. How you doing, buddy?
It's been a long week with work and everything, but I'm happy to be here, happy to be a part of this.
No, you're not. Don't lie to me.
No, I wouldn't lie to you that much.
We've got a plethora of quarterback news to start out with, so we're going to have to, kick the show off with that. Starting out right away, Justin Fields dislocated his shoulder in last Sunday's game. He apologized to his teammates. He said he felt really bad about the loss, and apparently that resonated with them. But in regards to his injury, he is in fact expected to play. He is only labeled day-to-day. So, however, if you are a Justin Fields owner and want to hedge your bets, I would find a quarterback to maybe keep a hold of just in case, but it sounds like they expected to play.
Who's his backup?
Who's his backup? I don't know off the top of my head. That's a good question. I didn't really bother to look it up. I was fighting with myself back and forth, like, should I even look it up? But he's expected to play, and I'm counting on it. So Justin Fields expected to play. Kyler Murray is expected to make his turn in Week 12. Been limited with hamstring injuries the past couple weeks in practice, has not played in the games, should be coming back this upcoming week. Zach Wilson has officially been benched. There's no reason as to whether it was just poor performance or if it was directly related to not taking the accountability for his poor performance. In that Patriots game, everybody kind of saw that post-game presser said no, he didn't down. So we are expecting Mike White to get the start there. Mike White did get the news last night that he's in fact going to be this week's starter. It has not been announced for rest of season, so we will we will plan week by week with the Jets quarterback situation. However, I am fading the Jets quarterbacks currently as of right now. Before I continue with the quarterback news, we have our very first question from Fred. Fred, what's going on here, buddy? Thanks for checking in. Who would you start, Tua or Joe Burrow? That's tough.
That's a tough one.
It's always tough when you got, especially because, both pass defenses statistically give up quite a bit. But I'm going to lean Tua here. I do think that the Tennessee defense that Joe Burrow is going to be facing has been playing a lot better as of recently, whereas the Houston defense that Tua Tagovailoa is playing against is they're just not a good defense. So I am going to lean Tua here, but I could see either or. Is definitely, this is a good problem to have. This isn't like, who am I going to start, Mike White or Kyle Allen, who we'll get into in a little bit, but good problem to have, Fred. I'm leaning Tua here.
Yeah, I am also leaning Tua. Tagovailoa. Tua. I'm going to say Tua.
Yeah, you can just say Tua.
I am leaning Tua. I think also wide receivers make a big choice for me too. I think Tyreek Hill did big upgrade from T. Higgins, and then Jalen Waddle did big upgrade from Tyler Boyd. Also,
it sounds like Jamar Chase is. Is back and going to play this week.
Okay, I still think Tyreek Hill and Jamar Chase are even, I guess you could say. But I still think Jalen Waddle and T. Higgins, Jalen Waddle got the upper edge in my opinion. It's a close argument, but like Ryan said, I think Tennessee defense is playing a little bit better lately, and Houston Texans defense isn't that good to begin with. So yeah, I'm definitely going to start Tua.
Excellent question, Fred. If you haven't done so already, go ahead and subscribe on YouTube. And I know that you I saw that. Go ahead and share it too. Get it to your friends. We don't want our fantasy football secrets to remain a secret from everybody else. Here every Wednesday at 6:30. Back to the quarterback news. Leaving off with the Jets, we have the Panthers. Sam Darnold is getting the start this Mayfield after a poor out the previous week from Baker. This is Sam Darnold's probably last chance to get a start here in the NFL. So if he doesn't make good on these starts coming up, it could be troublesome for him. I am fading him. However, I think that this is good for DJ Moore. We've seen DJ Moore pop off in the past with Sam Darnold as his quarterback. Sam Darnold really likes DJ Moore. So I think that this is fantastic for DJ. I am definitely I'm going to play him this week with a little bit of caution because Denver's defense is very good. Patrick Surtain's a very good cornerback, despite the play that we all saw last week. However, I think going forward that this is great for DJ Moore. Bryce Perkins is starting for the Rams on Sunday. Matthew Stafford has been ruled out with a neck strain. I guess that's what's been bothering him, in the back of his head, the neck, for the last couple weeks. There's no timetable for Matt Stafford's turn. Hitting everybody in the Rams offense now, except maybe just because of the volatility of the tight end. But I am not, if I don't have to, I am not starting anybody in the Rams offense because of this. Last piece of quarterback news, Davis Mills has also found himself riding the pine until further notice. Kyle Allen is getting the start. Kyle Allen has some really fantastic numbers for his career starts, actually 5 touchdowns to 1 interception. However, I am not showing much faith against a looking better Miami pass defense. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to bench Kyle Allen here. However, just a little bit of quarterback news. So for those of you that were relying on Stafford, Zach Wilson, and Davis Mills, going to need to find replacements for those guys. That being said, yes, you are lagging. That being said, we're going to move into starts. That's partially the reason why I'm lagging. I have about 8 different things open on my laptop right now. So we're going to move into this week's starts. Going to go ahead and do this right here. Tim, you got the comments?
Yep.
Start. Now, remember, we are trying to lean toward, not the obvious guys. Obviously, if you have Josh Allen, you're going to start him. You're never going to sit him. Timmy was on some wild stuff a couple weeks ago telling people to bench Nick Chubb and Devontae Adams, despite the fact that he went and started Nick Chubb. So we're glad we cleared that up.
Devontae Adams
doing
only
that
had
again. And you probably would have started him if you had him in any league. So,
you got to.
Yeah, so the Week 12 starts. Geno Smith is probably becoming a little bit more of a must start every week. QB7 on the season, and in 4-point passing touchdown leagues, he's averaging 18.58 points per game. It's looking really, really good. A lot of people thought that Russell Wilson trade was going to be bad for the Seahawks pass catchers. That has not been the case this year. And the Raiders do give up the 3rd most fantasy points to quarterbacks. So this is a very good matchup for Geno Smith. 2 defenses that aren't particularly great in real life, especially on the Raiders side of the football. So I'm starting Geno Smith in DFS and, in Superflex and 1 quarterbacks. I'm starting them all over the place with confidence. Holy shit. My dog just brought the most annoying toy that he has right next. It's going to get real loud. That being said, yep, there it is. That being said, we're going to move on to the running backs. I got Jeff Wilson here starting for Miami Dolphins. Look, he saw 61% of the snaps last week and finished as an RB7. He's been an RB1 each of the 2 weeks he's been with Miami, and the Texans give up the most points to running backs. It is clearly his backfield. Now, if you're desperate and you're dealing with injuries or bye weeks, you can also probably start Raheem Mostert here as well, who will probably seed, get only about 40% of the snaps, but I think that maybe with a touchdown or a long run, he becomes fantasy viable. You could start Raheem Mostert as an RB2 as well, but I'm starting Jeff Wilson with confidence here. Wide receiver for me, Michael Pittman. Now, this would have seemed kind of obvious in the beginning of the season, but because of the up and down Colts quarterback and just general offensive play, he's kind of been a little worrisome. So in DFS, I'm firing him up this week. He has not seen less than 6 targets in a game this year, which is actually pretty incredible. And with Matt Ryan back, this does boost his stock a little bit. And the Steelers allow the most points to wide receivers in fantasy football. So I'm definitely starting Michael Pittman Jr. confidently as a wide receiver too, and I'm picking him up in DFS for the cheap. Tight end, Dawson Knox. My rule of thumb is I don't like starting guys on Thursdays. The games are generally lower scoring, so if I can fade to better options, I can, or I will. However, the tight end landscape, man, talk about it every week. It's just so hit or miss. However, Dawson Knox is finding his way into some consistency. He's seen 13 targets over the last 2 weeks, both of those being tight end 1 finishes. He finished tight end 5 last week, tight end 11 the week prior, and the Lions give up the 3rd most points to tight ends in a game that I expect to be a shootout. I expect both of these offenses to go out there and get it, and so does Vegas with an over-under of 54 points. So there's the most assumed points in this game according to the Vegas odds makers. So that's something that you want to look into as well when you're dealing with fantasy starts and sits. So I'm firing up Dawson Knox as a tight end 1 this week, despite my unwillingness to usually start guys on Thursdays.
So we got a comment from Ken Brandt. What tight end for the Eagles would you start with Goddard out? To be honest, I want to start either of them.
No.
Yeah, I want to start either.
Jack Stoll and Grant Caltera shouldn't even be rostered in any leagues. I don't even know how to pronounce the guy's name. They shouldn't even be rostered. Unless you're playing in like a 3 tight end, extremely deep, just unbearable league.
Like a 32-man league team.
Go ahead.
So I'm going full screen. So my first settlement for quarterback is Aaron Rodgers. He's playing a tough Eagles defense to begin with, and he hasn't looked all too great. And his wide receivers are playing against two tough corners, and Darius Slay and Bradbury. But also the Eagles defense that only allows 68.8 quarterback rating through the whole year so far. So I'm going to be fading Aaron Rodgers this week.
Actually, I have a good stat that I read the other day to touch on the Eagles defense. They're the only defense that has not allowed a QB 1 week this year.
Nice. So you're saying about big names that we don't want to like try to bring them in and everything, but I have a big name to sit, and they're playing a tough defense. His name is Saquon Barkley. The Cowboys defense is really good with Michael Parsons and Trevon Diggs and everything like that. They're averaging 4.3 yards per attempt, all running backs. I know it sounds like a lot, but with Michael Parsons stopping the pass real quickly, like he has been, like especially last week, and the Vikings offensive line is a little bit better than the Giants offensive line, so it makes sense to me to sit Saquon Barkley. They also only allow 4 touchdowns to all running backs in 11 games. I am fading all wide receivers from Pittsburgh. With Kenny Pickett at the helm, he hasn't been hitting a lot of good targets lately, been thrown in double coverage lately. It should be a running game, in my opinion, too, still with Najee Harris and Jonathan Taylor. But the Colts cornerbacks are only allowing 6 passing touchdowns all year long. And they played some good offenses with some good corners, with some good receivers. So it's kind of impressive that they only gave up 6 touchdowns all year long. The tight end I'm sitting is Cole Kmet. I didn't know Justin Fields was playing this week. I said I wouldn't trust the backup, but now he's playing. It still doesn't change that the fact that the Jets still have a strong defensive front that will get attacked Justin Fields a lot. And the Jets hasn't allowed a touchdown pass through 11 games this season. That's it.
Oh my God. Okay. Yeah. I'm disagreeing with Saquon Barkley there. For DFS, you can fade him, but if you have him in your lineup, start him with confidence. He's just a game changer. Tim wouldn't even take that advice there, to be honest with you. He's done that in the past.
I mean, I'm just going by the facts, really. I know he's a good running back. I'm not saying he's not, but from what the facts are, they stopped Dalvin Cook last week.
Always start your studs. I mean, they didn't stop Aaron Jones the week before. They didn't even stop A.J. Dillon the week before.
They had a bad game, apparently.
Keenan Allen gets a full practice in. Good for him. Also, Mike Williams downgraded to did not practice, so keep an eye on that for Gerald Everett. Gerald Everett and Josh Palmer. Josh Palmer just can't go away at this point. So we have some trades to go over here. I guess I'm just going to share my entire screen. This is going to look weird for a second, guys, so bear with me. Okay. Can you see the trade, Tim?
No, not
You
really.
can't. What?
Nah, I can't. I can't, but I know most of them already.
But
So
like,
on the screen, yeah, it's on the
is the
screen.
trade on the screen?
Yes, yes.
Okay, that's all I needed to know. So it's the trade deadline in most weeks. For those of you that did not know that, um, so I mean, obviously, a lot of leagues were active. Now, in most of my dynasty leagues, the trade deadline isn't until the playoffs start, which is pretty commonplace amongst most dynasty leagues. You'll see even some dynasty leagues they don't have a trade deadline at all. But to the likeness of my constituents in the league, I decided to put a trade deadline in. So this first trade, we have a very obvious, rebuild and a very obvious contender here. We have Amari Cooper on one side, and then we have Elijah Moore, Kyron Williams, a 23 first, and a 24 second on the other side. Tim, this was one of your trades, I believe. So why don't you go ahead and break this down for us?
So yesterday, I literally looked at my team. I said I needed one more good receiver to get me over the edge to the playoffs, to the championship. So I was willing to pay anything, to be honest. I'm in a win now situation. I'm 7-4, first in the league. I lost Cooper Cup a couple weeks ago, so I was struggling at the wide receiver position for a little bit. And then I've noticed a guy that only had one first round pick, and he's like, I think, on a break of being a playoff team, not to be a playoff team. And I decided to hit him up and said wanted what he wanted for a wide receiver one, and he named it Price, and I had to pay it if I wanted him. And I also had I know you're not a big fan of Deshaun Watson this week, this year, but I also have him coming back next week, and I'm going to have that wide receiver quarterback stacks with Deshaun Watson, Amari Cooper, Josh Allen, and Stephon Diggs.
I don't think Amari Cooper's production drops when Deshaun Watson comes back, but a lot of people are still viewing Deshaun Watson as a top 10 quarterback in their eyes, and I think that we need to temper those expectations. But I could very easily see him producing in the same manner that Jacoby Brissett has. So I'm not fading Amari Cooper in the slightest. Sometimes that quarterback production doesn't, always generally directly relate to wide receiver production. That's one of the weird parts about fantasy football. But yeah, so for me, this trade was pretty good. You have to. The goal is to win a championship in fantasy football. It doesn't matter where you're playing, best ball, redraft, dynasty, whatever the case may be. Your goal is to win a championship. So you might be selling a little bit of your future there, your first round pick, which was assumingly going to be late, a 24 second, and Elijah Moore. Look. People are stoked about Kyron Williams right now with Darrell Henderson being cut. I get it. Doesn't make any sense to me. Kyron Williams is 5'7". He's 180 pounds. He was a 6th round pick. All the signs are showing that this guy is not going to have any sustainable long-term role in the NFL. At best, he's going to be J.D. McKissick. I mean, at best. But he's not going to be some sort of 3-down monster. And he's still a backup. Cam Akers just got 15 touches last week. He's still a backup. So there's a lot of hype about Kyron Williams right now. I'm not seeing it. Even with Cam Akers struggling, I'm just not seeing it. He might have a pass-catching role. Elijah Moore is a little down right now. I think that he's a good buy low candidate. I really trust the talent of Elijah Moore. However, it's not anywhere near the talent of Amari Cooper. And when you're going for a championship, I'm taking Amari Cooper over Elijah Moore very comfortably. Now to the picks. I think that those two picks right there generally equal the value that I have Amari Cooper at. So in my eyes, you probably slightly overpaid with the Elijah Moore edition, but at the same time, the goal is to win a fantasy championship. You have to buy those wins. We're going to get into another trade right here that shows that. This trade actually involved me, so I'll go first on it. I really, really, really did not want to do this. Where is it? Okay, so it was, I'll just say it out loud because my screen sharing is being kind of weird. It was Ezekiel Elliott straight up for Josh Palmer. I went ahead, I went and bought Ezekiel Elliott. I had Melvin Gordon as my RB2. And from a fantasy production the last 3 weeks, he's been an RB2. He was RB22, RB19, and RB16, I believe. Then he gets cut, clears waivers. He's not on a team. I'm running a hero running back situation here. I don't have a clear-cut second. J.K. Dobbins was supposed to be that guy for me this year. Just hasn't panned out. I'm in third place in that league. I've scored a ton of points. I'm clearly a contending team. I got to go out and buy that championship, right? Fortunately, I was able to hold on to my early 23 second. I instead went ahead and traded Josh Palmer away. I love Josh Palmer in Dynasty. Josh Palmer is one of the best stashes out there. He's 23 years old. He's tied to Justin Herbert. Mike Williams and Keenan Allen both have expiring contracts potentially at the end of next season, where they both have buyouts relatively cheap. Austin Eckler only has one more year on his contract. So in about 2 years, Josh Palmer is looking at a situation where he could be the number 1 or number 2 target on the Los Angeles Chargers with Justin Herbert, who he would have had a connection with for 3 years at that point. He's one of my better deep stashes. However, I'm buying a championship here. I'm going after a guy when I need a running back spot who gets goal line touches on a good offense. He scored 2 touchdowns last week. He scored 2 touchdowns the game before that. I know he's missed a couple weeks with a knee injury. I'm not worried about injuries. Zeke doesn't get plagued by injuries. I'm here to win. Zeke just needs to be an RB2 behind Austin Eckler. I'll take that every single time.
Listen, I didn't hate that trade at all. I really liked it for you, especially because you're contending right now. Josh, I think right now Palmer's game he had on Monday night, Sunday night was kind of like a hit and miss, a big boom week for him. It's not guaranteed everyone's going to have that again. With Zeke, he's going to get the goal line touches. Like it proved last week when the Vikings held Tony Pollard to 2 first and second and goal on a 1 yard line to nothing. And then Zeke comes in and powered through everything, ran to the touchdown. I like that trade for you. Definitely a team I need to look out for it in auto traders.
Yeah, you do. But yeah, so here we got the other trade right here. Can everybody see this? Can you see it, Tim?
Yes, I can see it.
Okay. So this is a very interesting trade here. I like this trade a lot. I'm just going to go ahead and say that before. We've got Lamar Jackson and a 23 first. I don't know where this 23 first is going to be. This is not a league that I am in. This is one of our fan leagues for Kirk Cousins, Keenan Allen, Brandon Cooks, and Aaron Jones. I like the Lamar side here. This is a super flex league. I do know that. So you're starting 2 quarterbacks regularly. And obviously it's a dynasty league. Taking the young quarterback, especially one with rushing upside. Look, Lamar hasn't played well in real life. The last 4 or 5 weeks. He's played pretty damn good in fantasy. So that's all that matters to me. And you get a 23 first on top of that. Look, Kirk Cousins, he's a fine quarterback. He's going to be a fringe QB1 every week. He's 33 years old, kind of disrespected. He goes on 1-year contracts all the time. He's not looked at as a valuable long-term asset in any team. So his value shakes from year to year. Keenan Allen's a 30-year-old wide receiver. He's going to be a fringe wide receiver 1, high wide receiver 2 when he plays, but he's been a little injury plagued. And like I said, after next year, he's not tied to Justin Herbert anymore. Brandon Cooks, huge disappointment this year, but you can almost count on him being a perennial wide receiver 2 if the Texans can get right. Aaron Jones is obviously a low-end RB1. He gets a lot of the receiving work in a Packers offense that could improve a little bit. The touchdown regressions there, but I like this trade personally. I like the Lamar side. I would probably have, if I'm a rebuilding team, I probably would have sold all of that just for Lamar. And the fact that you got 23 first on top of it is even better. You have now locked up one of your quarterback spots, and you can use that first to go ahead and lock up another spot with a prospect that'll last a long time. So,
yeah. So I'm in that league that you're not in. That 23 first will be late. The dude in second place right now behind me. But also on the other side of this, the person who traded for Kirk Cousins, Keenan Allen, Brandon Cooks, he's pushing for a playoff spot. He's in the 7th seed right now at 6-4. This league gets tight, so I see why he made a trade, and I'm taking Lamar Jackson at 23 first too in Dynasty.
Yeah, if I'm contending, I'm taking the package side. If I'm rebuilding, I'm very easily taking the Lamar side. And in a vacuum, which nothing is ever in a vacuum, I'm taking the Lamar side anyway. So that's a pretty good deal for the Lamar getter. Let's talk about this trade real quick, mostly because
I'm going to do that. This question from Ken Brandt real quick. Who had the bigger day, Devontae Smith or AJ Brown?
Brown. I'm always going to bet on Brown.
Yeah, I'm going to bet on Brown too. He's the wide receiver one in the Eagles offense. Don't get me wrong, Devontae Smith has his up and downs, but AJ Brown's still going to get his no matter what. It proves game in and game out he's going to get his.
Yeah, so let's talk about this trade that Tim definitely didn't block the names out for. Obviously, one of them is him, so go ahead and fire away. What was the logic here, buddy?
My logic is he was trying to pawn off a rookie tight end for Denver right now. I don't remember his name, Dolchridge or something like that.
Greg Dulcich.
Well, yeah, and one of my 23 seconds. And my 23 seconds is going to be early. I'm in a rebuild mode. It's going to be early. I don't really have that many late picks in 2023. And he wanted to trade for a 24 and a 24 second and third round pick. I don't need picks. I don't want 24 picks, to be honest. I'm looking to come back in 23 a strong, a contending team. So I plan on getting like my mindset in the draft. If it goes right for me, it's getting a rookie tight end that me both know. So that's why I said no to it. What do you think about this trade, Ryan?
I think it's pretty even on both sides, in all honesty. Maybe a slight lean to the picks, but if you're in need of a tight end who's going to be consistent, I think Dulcich probably does have some low tight end one value most weeks the rest of the year. I know that his tight end schedule is relatively easy, that and Gerald Everett's. So hint to those listeners out there. Probably a slight lean to the picks, but
I also
if you don't have a tight end that you're running with in the future right now, I don't see the harm in taking it because really you're just moving back here. And
I have Mark Andrews in that league.
Oh, then yeah, I'm not doing that. I don't even know why you would have inquired on Greg Dulcich to begin with. That doesn't.
I didn't. He sent that to me.
Oh, then yeah, no, I'd have rejected that in a heartbeat.
Exactly what I did.
I definitely would have rejected that. That's just not a fantastic trade. Another trade you made. Oh, it didn't populate. There we go. We're killing it. Did it change now?
No.
What the hell? Okay. Well, ladies and gentlemen, screen sharing has gone stupid on me.
I think I remember what one was.
So I'll just read it out loud then. Here we go. It was Elijah Moore, 2023 second, for DJ Moore and a 2025 first. Tim, this trade involved you again, so go ahead and break it down.
I am also in rebuild mode in this trade. Like Brian said, I think DJ Moore had a lot of upside with Sam Darnold coming back. But it's not guaranteed he's going to start next week. And quite frankly, DJ Moore been a big upset this year for me. I was trying to fade him in every league, but I like him, so trying to keep him in every league too. So it's hard for me. I also like Elijah Moore. Hopefully, with Zach Wilson getting benched this week, it wakes up something in mine. If they can start throwing the ball accurately to the good young wide receivers on the Jet side, I don't see why Elijah Moore can't produce the same numbers as DJ Moore. And that 23 second, it's going to be the 201, 202, 203 at the highest. And who knows what 2025 you're going to put in the book for us right now. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, all right, I'd much rather have the earlier pick and a young wide receiver who could be good. Take a risk.
Like I said, I'm not out on Elijah Moore. I probably would have just done more or Elijah Moore in the 23 second straight up for DJ. Whoever was giving the first, I think they gave up a little bit too much because while
That was
we really
me.
don't know what 2025 holds, they do have a little bit of value. I think that it could have been better spent elsewhere. But I don't think that this is a terrible trade as a rebuilder. You know, if you're looking to get that rebuild started immediately, which I'm a big fan of, I do like starting as early as possible, especially in paid leagues, because if you're waiting until 2025 to rebuild and you know you're not really going to compete until after your rebuild, you're just throwing $50 into the pot every year. So I don't hate the idea behind it. I just think that, DJ Moore still I think that DJ Moore in 2025 first side is where I'm going for that, because any reason you hate Elijah Moore is probably the same exact reason you hate DJ Moore, but DJ Moore's still producing this year. So that's my take on that.
I also have, I think 6 first round picks in that league right now, and then an early second round pick.
Let's talk about something that really grinds my gears here. This is another trade from you, so we'll let you explain it once it populates. Tim, in full sell mode, in the same league, trades Michael Pittman away for Darius Slayton and a 2023 first. It's mid to late.
Why did that grind your gears?
I'll explain when it's my turn.
All right. Well, I'm hoping Slayton. He had the up and down games. I'm not saying he don't. I talked to a Giants fan before I made the trade, and he said, yeah, he had problem with drops and everything, but he'd been better this year with it. And I think if the Giants can get a better quarterback and upgrade the offensive line a little bit, he could be good. Could be decent at a wide receiver 2, something like that, maybe low end wide receiver 2. And to be honest, I wanted another first round pick, and I knew you had them. I knew who you wanted. So I went and got the first round pick.
So this logic here doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. And Tim, this trade was between you and I, so don't feel that I'm directly attacking you. Please don't get defensive when I say this. Trading young players for picks makes no sense. And because it's just a way to, keep going in circles. Darius Slayton has been great the last few weeks. He's still relatively young and does have time to turn it around. He's only 25 years old. He's actually older than Pittman, which I was kind of surprised at. But he's not been a great long-term value. I don't think that he's going to be a great long-term value. The most glaring need that the Giants have is at wide receivers, so you can bet that they're going to look to upgrade that position in the offseason with 1, if not 2 wide receivers who are clearly better than Slayton. So in my opinion, the long-term value here is 23 first for Michael Pittman. And while I think it's fair in a vacuum, if I'm rebuilding, I'm not selling a guy like Michael Pittman, who's only 24 years old, for a pick, because what are you going to do, draft a 22-year-old wide receiver? To me, the logic just doesn't make any sense. If you keep selling your young guys for picks and keep selling your young guys for picks and keep doing it over, you don't get anywhere. You just keep selling guys off for picks. So at some point, you got to make the stand to be like, hey, this guy's a cornerstone in my rebuild. And Michael Pittman's got, is a volume-based wide receiver too. He's not a bad asset to have on your team in the slightest, but to me, the logic just isn't there. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. That's not something I would do. I've been offered 4 first-round picks for Jamar Chase and denied it. Like, it's not about the fact that, yes, those 4 first-round picks have value, but I'm not selling off young guys for more picks just to draft more young guys. Like, that doesn't – why would I give up an asset that I know I have for something that might be better than what I have? So
I also looked at the age. They're both 25.
Yeah, and Pittman just turned 25. Slayton's been 25 all year, I think.
I still think Slayton could be a low-end wide receiver too, if they get a couple upgrades and things happen in the right direction.
I just don't see it. Like, I know obviously you took it, that's what you believe, but there's no evidence to support that. He's never finished as a wide receiver 2. He's the best wide receiver in probably the worst wide receiver room in the league, in all honesty. Like, the Giants have absolutely nobody on the outside. So whoever the Giants decide to pick up in free agency or draft is going to instantly be their number one wide receiver. I just don't see a path where Darius Slayton is clearly, a sustainable wide receiver too. He might have, some wide receiver 2 weeks here and there, but I don't think that he finishes that way. But again, it's the logic of trading young guys for picks that just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. So yeah, I've wanted to talk about that for weeks, but I could never actually find the time to talk about it.
I guess it happens with my trade.
Yeah. Now I do understand why you would do it, but it's, you're looking for picks. I just would have traded somebody else for it, or I would have sell like your very obvious like old dudes. I mean, Michael Pittman could have still helped you out for about 5 years. You're only 2 years away from competing, so you could have gotten solid production from him.
I think that's all the ones I sent you.
No, we have tons of trades to go over. This was an interesting one to me.
If it ever loads.
Whenever it decides to populate. Here we go. Let me try that again. This was an interesting one to me.
Did that involve me?
Yes, it does. A lot of these involve you, actually, Tim. Dude, you sent me a ton of.
I don't remember what I sent you, to be honest.
Is this going to populate now? There we go. Okay.
Oh.
There we go. We have Ramondre Stevenson and a 23 first. Ramondre Stevenson and a 23 first for Travis Etienne and a 23 second. Tim, I'll let you explain since this was your trade again.
Listen, I know Etienne's going to be good. I'm not saying he's not. He's 23 years old, I think, 22. Mm-hmm. When Ramondre Stevenson's 24, and he's also being good this year, and I think he's going to take over the backfield in New England starting a couple weeks from now to next year, something like that. Especially if they get rid of Bill Belichick. I'm hoping they do. So this trade seems a little bit more better for me. I know everyone's really high on Etienne, but he still had that scary ankle injury last year, hit the Achilles.
It was a foot injury. He had a Liz Frank injury.
I'm sorry. He still had a big, major injury last season, which can always come back and bite you in the butt in the future. I'm not saying Stevenson can go out next week and tear the ACL. I'm not saying he couldn't, but so can Etienne. Running again, you said you don't like trading young players with picks, but I looked at it. Hey, I'm getting
this isn't that. This isn't that. Not even close. There's a young player involved on the other side with relevancy to fantasy.
To be honest, the dude really wanted Etienne, and I offered what I think he would have took, and he did take it without countering. So I was okay with it. Maybe I shouldn't have gave the 23 second up, but it is what it is. I win some, I lose some.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the ETN side of this trade. I think that there's more stability in his long-term outlook. I think he's tied to a more promising offense. I think that he's a little more guaranteed for touches. Ramondre Stevenson, the Patriots have had a history, whether it be Josh McDaniels or whoever was there, of kind of splitting backfield touches really ever since Corey Dillon left back in the early 2000s. But yeah, I'm a big fan of the ETN side. His upside is ridiculous. Me personally, I own ETN in a couple leagues. I wouldn't sell him again because I just touched on it for this, but I would command at least 2 23 firsts for selling if I'm selling ETN. And that's just for him straight up. So the fact that if I'm the ETN guy and I'm getting a 23 second here, I'm smashing accept on that all day too. I don't blame him for that at all. I don't think Stevenson's bad. I think his upside's limited by being in a pretty shitty offense that doesn't seem like that they're going to get any better anytime soon. Whereas Trevor Lawrence is showing obvious improvement. Doug Peterson loves utilizing his running backs. And Etienne's the very clear-cut one, despite the fact that they just picked up Darrell Henderson today. I think that's just to spell him. I think they were tired of JaMychal Hasty not being a viable backup, in the moments that he was spelling him. But I think that's Etienne's backfield. I think it's more likely to be just Etienne's backfield going forward as well than Ramondre's. So I think rest of season, I like Ramondre. It's just, you always got to keep in mind with the Patriots that offseason gets a little murky. And Damian Harris is still there. He's just definitely falling out of favor very quickly.
I also was considering Doug Peterson because the Eagles, we know him pretty well. He likes splitting the carries between the running backs still. We had Boston Scott, Corey Clement, Miles Sanders all in one league. They were all splitting carries pretty much evenly, if I'm not mistaken. I could be mistaken. So I was considering that a little bit also. So
I hear what you're saying, but I think that was more so out of necessity because none of those running backs were Travis Etienne. Like Travis Etienne is the best running back talent-wise that Doug Peterson's had in his whole career. And the Jags invested a first-round pick in him, so he's not going anywhere. Okay. We're going to move on to the next trade, though. We've got a rejection here. It's like me trying to get into college. No, I'm just kidding.
Another one of my trades, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm doing very well in college. Thank you very much. I've not been rejected to colleges at all. So,
not yet. I'm kidding.
Go ahead and populate the shit, man. My laptop's moving at like half a mile an hour because it is like, and there's just, see, holy Jesus. Okay, so my lap is just like super malfunctioning right now. There we go. Let's try this again. Probably won't populate. So it's Christian Watson for Devin Duvernay and a 23 first. There it is. I'm taking the Watson side on this deal. If it's, it depends on where that 23 first is. Duvernay has no weight whatsoever.
It's late.
He's a fill-in at this point. It depends on the needs of my team. If I'm drafting a wide receiver with that pick anyway, like I'm really weak at wide receiver, I'm probably just taking Christian Watson. I like his skill set. I like his upside. I think that him being with Rodgers, who definitely has a tendency to hold his receivers a little bit more accountable than he probably should, will help him grow. And I do like Watson. He's big. He's fast. He wins jump balls. He can do it all. He just needed a little bit of polishing. He had only played 1 year of college ball. So at Division I AA, I believe. Yeah, he went to North Dakota State. So, but yeah, no, it's basically Watson for a 23 first. Another one of those weird trades that I'm not necessarily a fan of. So I know how hyped up the 23 class is, but if I'm looking at it, my dynasty folks, the wide receivers in 2023 are kind of falling out of favor pretty quickly. Jackson Smith and Jigba's been hurt all year. Kayshon Boutte not been what we thought he'd be. Now, it doesn't mean they won't be anything in the NFL, but it's starting to look like the 2022 class of wide receivers is going to be better than the 2023 class initially coming out of college. So for me, if it's a late first and if I needed a wide receiver, I'm just taking Christian Watson. If I was going to draft a running back with that pick, I'd have stuck the pick in my back pocket. But
so the dude did count on me because it's my trade. He counted me with his 23 first only with a mid to early, I guess you could say. So
it's a mid to early?
Yeah.
I'm taking the pick side all day.
Yeah, so I rejected that one. I said, I'm not really up to giving up that pick. So
hold on, wait, you rejected it? It looks like the person who was getting the pick rejected it.
No. So this pick here is the late first, but he counted me.
Oh, okay. That's just overhype. Trying to get an early first for Christian Watson. That's just the dude's had a couple good games, and that happens when you've inexperienced dynasty players. They don't understand the value. So that was weird. I don't know why I removed you from the stream. We've probably got one more trade that we're gonna go over here, and then
Yeah, so that dude like on the fringe of a playoff. He's 5-6.
Actually, we don't have any more trades to go over.
I got one for you that I just sent out before the show started. I don't know if you would do this either. Never mind. Nah, it's a terrible trade. Never mind.
You sent him a terrible trade?
Yeah, it was to one of the players we're in a lot of leagues with. He would probably call me out on it. No big deal. It's not in the league you're in.
Oh, okay.
So it's I need a quarterback because
yeah, you probably sent a crap trade. I can see it now.
Yep. I sent Nico Collins in a 24-second
For who?
Quarterback.
For which quarterback?
Cousins.
That's an awful trade.
I know it is.
I would have shot you.
I hope the dude counters at least. I know he's like really big on Nico Collins, like because he was friends in high school with him or something. So I'm hoping that played a big part about this. But other than that, I don't expect it to be accepted. Hopefully my waiver wires go through.
I know exactly who you're talking about now, and I can tell you just do yourself a favor. Go send a better offer than that. Tim Hawkins goes, I know what you mean, Ryan. People steady coming at me for JJ. He's referencing Justin Jefferson. Look, if there's one dude that we're in a couple leagues with, he's stacked with stud wide receivers, but that's literally all he has on his roster. I mean, the rest of it is so median at best. He needs quarterback help. He needs running back help. If I had Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, and Jamar Chase, I would definitely trade one of those three for other players that are going to help me. I'm not trading them for picks. That doesn't make any sense because what I'm going to have to do is use one of those picks to replace the guy and then go draft another player that might hit, which is to me is not value. That's just not valuable. Doesn't make sense. I'll take Jamar Chase for the next 10 years over, 323 first-round picks. That just doesn't make any sense to me. But if you want to offer me Kirk Cousins, Travis Etienne, maybe a mid-tight end, Dallas Goedert, and I would consider it. If I'm filling other needs on my team immediately, I would do it. So
makes sense.
But yeah, that's all I've got for us this week. Tim, what do you got? Any closing remarks here?
Trade deadlines. If you need something, go get them. Especially if you're contending. 3
things: like, follow, sub, share. None of those things cost any money. We're not charging for subs. We're not like that. We're here to give out fantasy football advice every Wednesday. That being said, we are going to sign out here from BSing Sports, part of the BSing Network, where we do a little BS. We talk a whole lot of sports. Have a good night.